Well, so I want to ask you about 5G, which is a really hot topic when it comes to edge. But even before that, what do you think is like one of the absolute coolest things about edge, as you've learned so much about the sectors you have, and what do you think really captures your imagination about edge computing?
Mm.
I,
So I would probably put it into, boy, it would be hard to pick one.
right.
5G certainly would be a top of mind one right now because
Uh-huh.
you really can't do effective 5G without edge.
Uh-huh.
Those two really kind of go hand in hand. Now I can do edge without 5G, but 5G, especially millimeter wave 5G, very dense urban 5G, requires all these new radios, all these new sites that are going to be put up.
Ah, okay.
And and the operators see that as an opportunity to have basically a mini server in each of those sites to enable them to make money selling more services. Like network slicing is certainly one example, where you can deliver really high reliability and low latency for a use case like an autonomous car, robotic surgery. And then you have another slice for things like your toaster, your IoT that probably doesn't need the same experience. And then you have a slice for the massive mobile broadband speed, the fast slice.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And so I think 5G and edge and how those two are going to come together is from my table, one of the coolest things that I see.
Interesting. So, I mean, where are we with 5G? I hear so many conflicting stories. I mean, it's this year, it's next year, it's 2 years. I mean, when is 5G going to be all the way here? And like everyone has it.
Yeah. I think 2021 will be the breakout year for 5G. I think
Okay.
that's when we're finally going to see the coming together of real network coverage, not just in certain little blocks in a downtown area, but broad network coverage of 5G, and then more devices that support it. You kind of need both. It's a chicken egg thing.
Right.
And what a lot of people don't realize, 5G is more than just millimeter wave in a downtown area. It can be used on the rural spectrum, the older, 800 megahertz spectrum. So I think we're a couple years away. But I think, it's probably 2021 is when we're really going to start to see it hit mainstream.
So it seems like you mentioned you can do edge computing without 5G, but you can't really do 5G without the support of an edge computing network. What do you see
Yeah.
happening when 5G is really upon us, say 18 months from now, 24 months from now? What do you see happening with edge computing at that point when 5G is closer to maturity?
Yeah. So I see a couple things. I see the operators being able to make a lot more money off of what they do with that edge footprint.
Mm-hmm.
And that could be a wireless operator on 5G, but even a Comcast, Charter, Spectrum, Cox, the cable companies,
Mm-hmm.
they have this great network as well. And it's really those service providers that I think are going to leverage their footprint, their network to enable all these new edge use cases. But I don't think they're going to be the only ultimate provider of whatever the cool thing is. The startup community, right? Just as we saw with 4G brought us Uber and Grubhub and 20,000 other things, and mobile gaming that wasn't really possible before 4G. I think edge plus 5G, or even edge alone, honestly, is going to bring a whole new industry of startups, most of which we haven't even thought of yet. There's so many different things you can do once you get that really low latency. We're talking sub 1 millisecond latency that's possible with edge. So think of VR, right? It's almost
Right.
real time.
Mm-hmm.
Not like now where you turn and the experience is slow and people are getting sick. And so it's going to usher in an era of virtual reality, augmented reality. It's going to usher in an era of being able to do robotic surgery for rural hospitals with real-time access to doctor in an urban center. Just
Wow.
so many things I think will be available.
Huh. I guess if it's sort of hearing you speak sort of changes my image of edge computing, because I've always been focused on cloud so much these last few years. I've been really covering the cloud sector. And I think about there's this cloud monolith in the center, and there's this little narrow ring around it called edge computing. In reality, it's more like edge is this dense network that goes almost from the cloud all the way out. It's edge might be thought of as the rest of the network in addition to the central cloud. Is that accurate or not necessarily?
Yeah, that's actually a great way to describe it. I think you're exactly right. Exactly
Okay.
right. And edge is going to be things like ARM, real low power CPU devices, These can be very inexpensive devices. This doesn't have to be, you know, when we think of cloud or compute, many of us, we think of servers and a rack. But edge could be your smart meter, or you mentioned your IoT device, right? There's going to be all of these devices that will come onto the network with edge. And so, yeah, it's going to be fascinating what we all bring on the network now that's going to be enabled by edge.